we will see about 8086 architecture. This is the bird's eye view of 8086 microprocessor, its internal architecture. So as it is a microprocessor, definitely you can expect an ALU, right? So the ALU in case of 8086 is 16 bits. Then along with the ALU, we need place to store the operands as well as the result. So you are also expecting some registers. So these are the registers of 8086. The registers here are indicated using rectangles with labels. And there are actually various types of registers in 8086, right? And these are some of them, that is CS, DS, SS and ES. CS stands for code segment register, DS stands for data segment register, SS stands for stack segment register, ES stands for extra segment registers. So these four registers are exclusively used for addressing, that you have to remember. Then the next set of registers, AX, BX, CX and DX, they are used for mathematical computations and for storage of operands or result. Then SP, stack pointer, BP, base pointer, SI, source index, DI, destination index. Those registers are also used for addressing. Then IP, it is also used for addressing. Okay, so functionally the registers are separated into different classes. Then we have flags register, which is again a special purpose register showing the status of the machine as well as the result of various computations. So in case of 8086, what you have to note here is all the registers are 16-bit in size, and in case of the general data registers or general purpose registers, the upper byte and lower byte are separately accessible. So if you consider the case of AX register, the higher byte or the upper byte is addressable as AH and the lower byte is addressable as AL. Okay, so if you consider CX register, CH is the upper byte of CX register, CL is the lower byte of CX register. Then as I told earlier, the segment registers and pointers are used for addressing. So if you are, so this segment register will be combined with any of the pointers here, okay, based on the allowed pairing, and address will be generated. So if you are going to use a pair of registers for addressing, that addressing mode is indexed addressing mode, right? So 8086 follows an indexed addressing mode. Okay, that's what you have to remember. Then as I discussed earlier, flags register holds the status of the machine. Now functionally, how you can visualize 8086? Functionally, 8086 is divided into two parts: the bus interface unit and execution unit. So if you see here, this is the bus interface unit, or all the commands within this region helps in that purpose, that is to interface with the external entities. Then you have the execution unit. So all entities within this region helps in execution of instructions. So what is the duty of bus interface unit? It is used for address calculation and instruction prefetch. Okay, so as I told earlier, these segment registers and the pointers will be used in address generation and will be helping in prefetching the instructions for feeding to the execution unit. Then what is the duty of execution unit? The execution unit executes the previously fetched instruction. So this instruction prefetch queue, which is part of the bus interface unit, will already have a prefetched instruction. That prefetched instruction will be passed to the execution unit. So the execution unit will actually execute an instruction obtained from the prefetch queue, and when the prefetch queue is free, the prefetch queue will bring in new instruction with the help of the components of bus interface unit. Okay, so that's how a pipeline occurs between execution unit and bus interface unit. At any point of time, execution unit will be engaged in an instruction, and at the same time the bus interface unit will be fetching an instruction from RAM and associated devices. Okay, now we will see a detailed view of the bus interface unit, how the segment registers, as we outlined earlier, will take part in indexed addressing, and what are the addressing problems faced by 8086. So in case of 8086, 8086 has to address 1 MB of RAM. Okay, and as we know, each byte of this 1 MB is individually addressable, so that is known as byte addressing, right? And as we have seen earlier, we are using a combination of segment register and offset register to address the individual bytes. So let me consider one segment, that is a code segment. Okay, the code segment is actually addressed by the code segment register and the instruction pointer register together in indexed addressing mode. Okay, and you might be wondering why segments are named as code segment, data segment, stack segment, and extra segment. Okay, the reason is actually 8086 follows a segmentation view of the programs running in it. Okay, so what is segmented view? In segmented view, it is visualized that each program has got code in it, data in it, and it may use stack to store its local variables or to pass variables. Okay, so each program will have an area in primary memory allotted with code, data, and stack. Okay, so that will be kept track by the code segment register, data segment register, and stack segment register. The extra segment register will actually keep track of the other data segments. Okay, so that is the segmented addressing view followed by 8086. Code lies in one segment, data lies in another segment, stack lies in another segment. Okay, so here in this view you can see two code segments. Okay, these need not be of the same program but might be of different programs, and they are lying in different regions, right? So this is the segmented view followed by 8086, that is physical memory is divided into various segments. Now what we are going to see is we are going to see how these segments are structured and addressed. Okay, so 1 MB space in 8086 is divided into 16 segments. So 1 MB is actually 1024 KB. So 1024 by 16 will give us 64 KB per segment. So each segment is of size 64 KB. That's what is shown here, right? This code segment is of 64 KB in size, and individual bytes within the code segment are individually addressable. Then the 16 segments can be any of these segments, right? Code, data, stack, and extra. Now let us consider this example shown in your textbook and see how address generation or byte addressing capability happens within each segment. Okay, so if you see this segment 1, this is a code segment. As I told you, the registers used for code segment addressing is code segment register and instruction pointer register. Okay, the code segment register will act as the base register, instruction pointer register will act as the offset register. So as we are following indexed addressing, normally what we should do in order to access any particular byte within this segment 1, we should add the content of CS with the content of IP. But in case of 8086, actually it is not done like that. We will modify the content of CS, then add it with IP. Okay, so indexed addressing in 8086 happens like modify the segment register contents, or the base register contents has to be modified, then it has to be added with the offset register content. So why we should modify the segment register content? It is directly related to the register size of 8086 and its addressing requirement. Okay, we already know that 8086 uses 16-bit registers, right? So registers can store only 16-bit values, but we have to address 1 MB, right? Or we have to address 1024 times bytes, which requires 20 bits if you are going for byte addressing. So 16 bits registers won't be enough to store 20-bit addresses. So so the 8086 designers have done a unique technique for addressing in such a constrained environment. What they did is they are actually modifying the indexed addressing scheme to accommodate or generate 20-bit addresses. So what they do is they will do a scheme like this. Okay, I have shown an example taken from your textbook. Suppose your code segment base register contains the value 1005 in hexadecimal. It is a 16-bit address. And your offset register or the IP register contains the value 5555. Again, it's a 16-bit value. Now we need to generate a 20-bit address, or we need to find out what is the 20-bit address corresponding to the addresses stored in the CS and IP. So usually what we will do, we will add the contents together, but we won't get a 16-bit address. To get a but we won't get a 20-bit address. So in order to get a 20-bit address, what we should do is left shift the contents of the base register or the code segment register by 1 hexadecimal place or 4 bits. So what happens is we will have the value in the code segment register as 10050, which is 20 bits. Now add the contents of the offset register or the IP register to that. So the effective address will be 155A5, which is a 20-bit address. So this is what the 8086 designers have come up with. Okay, so what should you do whenever you need to find the address of byte in a segment? Okay, take the corresponding segment's base register, take its value and left shift it by 4 bits or left shift it by 1 hexadecimal place. Then take the corresponding segments offset register contents, add it directly to this left shifted value, you will get a 20-bit address. Okay, so I talked about the 16 segments within 1 MB RAM, right? So these 16 segments actually started these addresses, that is 0000, then 1000, like that up to F000. So you can see that from 0 to F it is 16 different segments, right? And the offsets within these segments can range from all zeros to all Fs. Okay, so that is how addressing happens in 8086. Now we will see the detailed view of execution unit. We have seen all these registers, their sizes and all, and the only thing remaining is regarding this flags, right? Flags register. So what are the components of flags register in 8086? So already we have seen a particular region of the flags register or processor status word known as condition code in computer organization and architecture, right? So what is condition code? Condition code will indicate the result of any mathematical computation. So if you see this condition code region, which is actually the lower byte of your flags register, the two important bits of significance here is the sign bit and the 0 bit, right? So if you see the sign bit or the S bit, it will be 1 when the result of any operation is negative. Then again the 0 bit, it will be 1 when the result of any operation is 0. Then along with that we have another area of the flags register known as the machine control flag area. Machine control flag area deals with the interrupt processing as well as the working of the CPU. So there is a particular bit known as the trap flag. If the trap flag is set to 1, what happens is your CPU will be moving into a single step execution mode, and after each instruction it will generate an interrupt which can be used for debugging. Okay, then we have a interrupt flag bit, okay, which is used for masking and unmasking of interrupts. So like that there are various flag bits, and the purposes for them are detailed in your textbook. You can refer that.